Let's freaking go. We are breaking down Gunner Stockton today. Is he the best backup quarterback in the SEC? We just talked about Arch Manning, and, when it comes to both of these quarterbacks, you normally don't associate their rushing, but both of them show some great running ability in their limited action last year. So, of course, Gunner Stockton does have an extra year on Arch Manning. This upcoming season will be his year 3. So now we get to here, and man, this is some really good playmaking ability. Now, it is cut off. Maybe there was something open vertical because the pass protection, as you normally expect with Georgia, is really good. You'll see that Gunner Stockton decides to not rip this, and this is the best pass rusher, not named Jared Verse, on their team, Peyton, and he's right there. So I'm pointing that out because these are mostly starters. He's able to get this off to Edwards. Of course, we know Edwards is a really good SEC back, does a really good juke right here to gain some extra yards. He's able to brace off this tackle right here. Once again, Edwards, very underrated when it comes to being an SEC back. And now, my only issue with this is I am not the biggest fan of the jump throw, right? We've seen both in our film studies on Jackson Arnold and, of course, Quinn Ewers. When you jump and throw like that, it does open yourself up for turnovers. But if you're in that much space and the receiver is that close to you, you might as well just drop that off. All right, so now we get to the 2nd and 8, and this is probably the most complex rep that we are going to break down, okay? This is, first off, not the best protection, okay? Obviously, Van Pray and Granger is a really good center for Georgia. That's not bad. It's also not great. You don't want to get blown into the quarterback's lap. Issue is staring this down all the way. Okay, so Gunner Stockton does see right here that they are backing off. This is a clear quarters coverage right here. And guess what? You should like this throw. It's if you stare this thing down as long as he stared this thing down, you're going to open yourself up for safeties getting right here in what should have been a pick 6, okay? Now, this is where it's actually good, the arm strength, right? This is an absolute piss missile that he threw. Abso-freaking-lutely ridiculous stuff right here to put this much on this football. And he also throws it high, right, where only his 6'3" receiver could get it. That is, some lucky ball placement that wasn't at least tipped. But because he threw it high and because he threw it with a lot of velocity, he was able to get that thing through. And because of Gunner Stockton's mobility, it just opens things up. This is just a simple split zone play right here. Is this a read at all? It's kind of tough to see if this is a read at all. It looks like that was a pull the entire way. And obviously Gunner Stockton's job right here is to read these edge guys. The contained defender obviously bit on this rush fake, and that's obviously not a good thing. So Stockton obviously has the option if he wants to just run it, he can, but obviously you want to throw this football into the flat, just lead your tight end. Very simple, easy yards. Versus a Florida State defense, of course, it is 49-3. It is a blowout. Like we mentioned in the Arch film study, you really can't take too much away because the defense, of course, is gassed, sad, and disheveled here at this point in the game. But still, we'll take it. It's some good quarterbacking. All right, so 2nd and 7. Remember the earlier play, okay? It was an in-breaker he threw that he stared down the entire way, and the safety almost picked it off, okay? Now, it's kind of sort of the same thing, except the corner isn't backed off of him. He actually bails, and it becomes quarters yet again, okay? And he decides to rip this thing in the last play, but now, instead of throwing it and knowing that that ball was not a good throw earlier, he decides to not rip this because this would have been a pick 6 going the other way. It's a really, really good quarterbacking, okay? Now, Obviously, there's different rules, progressions, and all of that. I think right here, if he thought this was man coverage, he was supposed to work this way. And could he have worked backside here? Yes, in a perfect world, they'll probably tell him in the film room that pre-snap, this is where we want it to go. You could just kind of see pre-snap that this is 2v3, and on this side, it is 3v3. So pre-snap, if I was a QB, I probably would have worked this way, but this might have been the first progression the entire way. It obviously just depends if you're in that meeting room or not. And if you were to work to this side, you're hitting an absolute nice gainer right here into the flat to cash right there. Now, all things considered, this is still an absolutely ridiculous piece of quarterback play. So this is number 14, Jackson, who was ineligible all season for Florida State for BS. And you could see why they were begging him to be able to play this year. That is an absolute ridiculous bull rush right there. And you could see he doesn't, I don't think he actually sees his safety. I think he decided not to rip it because this guy was right in his face. Or he might have been able to see his safety. Either way, the pressure does affect this throw, and he's right here for the sack. But Stockton, this is ridiculous stuff. This is something he brings. Carson Beck has some escapability, but Gunnar is the better runner. The only thing is, I don't want my quarterbacks doing the baggy undershirt thing, but everyone does it, so why not? Last thing here, fall down, okay? Lamar Jackson's the best at this. No need to try and break it out here to the outside. You're not gaining any extra yards. Just fall down, take these 4 or 5 yards. You don't need the first down. You got third down. You also got fourth down in the extended red zone here. You take kind of a tough hit right here. Your legs getting folded under and all that stuff. Based on the pre-snap alignments here, I would have loved this matchup. I have a fast receiver going up against a slower linebacker type, and he has him out leveraged. You see this backers to the inside of the slot receiver, okay? And he runs a really good route right here, and he's open for a nice gain to the outside, okay? Now, this could be a QB draw the entire way. Even if it wasn't, this is still some really good quarterbacking, okay? If you see the middle of the field wide open like this, and you see them losing their pass rush lane integrity, they're running twist stunts in Georgia. I mean, they are so good at picking up twists. It is unfreaking believable, okay? You could see all this green grass. You could see them out of their pass rush lanes, and this is a good job by Gunner Stockton reading this, and 54 almost gets him right here. Good job missing that tackle and gaining these yards. So, once again, I don't know how that's taught in that room, but that is really, really good quarterback play again. And just when you look at him, this kid's a unit, right? He looks thicker, stocky. Most quarterbacks are of that build, right? You don't really see a whole lot of just lean, ripped QBs. Now, this is some of the best athleticism you'll see from a quarterback. I'm dead serious, okay? This is a wide open throw for a touchdown. This is how the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, beat the 49ers. And I do have a new NFL channel where I break down this idea. Andy Reid is the absolute best at it. And simply put, it's the idea to throw the football to a player who leaks and or does something at the beginning of the play that makes you think they're not the intended receiver, okay? So Lucky, number 7, right here, is showing that he's blocking. So if I'm a defender, I'm thinking that this is a run play if this tight end is really selling a block. But he's not, right? He's actually the intended receiver. So you just leave him, and this guy's like, okay, it's a run. I got to go help in the run game. And he just leaks out, and it's an easy throw. It's a big part of the Lane Kiffin offense, and it's just honestly a simple, deceptive concept. I can't tell you how many times I have seen a quarterback get stepped on and fall down. I'm telling you, 9 out of every 10 quarterbacks in this spot, you could see the offensive lineman's foot lands right on Stockton, and I'm telling you, almost every single time this happens, the quarterback falls down. But look at Stockton. I mean, he barely moves, right? He's still able to carry out this fake. It's the balance. You've seen his runs. All right, here we go. The touchdown pass on the slot fade, okay? This has become the play in the SEC in the red zone, okay? Obviously, LSU did this better than pretty much any other team in college football history. I can't tell you how many slot fade touchdowns they had. So this is a difficult throw, all right? But the reason why it's such a good throw for offenses is it's hard to guard, right? You get one-on-one right here, 9. Evans, we saw him earlier cook, and he didn't get the football. Now, Gunner Stockton throws his ball, and you'll see the location of it isn't the absolute best, right? We want this football out here. Now, of course, we prefer an underthrow than an overthrow because it gives him a chance to fight back to the football and get a pass interference penalty as well. But the ball placement wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either. Something else about this throw is it was a bit of a wobbler. Not something that's too concerning, but it did come out of his hand a little funky, and you can see it if you look really, really, really closely. But overall, this is still a good ball, but an even better play and catch by the receiver. If it is in your heart's desire, please drop a super thanks. It goes a long way. I'm an independent film study guy, and these off seasons can be brutal for your boy. Now, are there some issues with Gunner Stockton's game? Yes. Obviously, you see an interception such as this one. We'll break it down. Why not? It's 1st and 10. You're up by a gazillion, and you should probably just hit this right here. And you hit that, you gain a few yards, and it's not a first down, but the clock continues to move. Instead, you throw a pick where the play was clearly covered. Now, this is where I will defend him on this play in particular. This is Zeed Haynes. He's already out of the program. He went to Syracuse. This is some of the laziest effort I have ever seen from a Division I wide receiver. And I understand he's a true freshman in this clip, but it still doesn't excuse this right here, okay? Number one, you're waiting for the football. I need you working back to the football, okay? And then number two, this is awful. What is that, okay? And you could see this coach is not happy, obviously, with the pick, but if he's running at full speed, he's already have tackled him. That's just terrible. So, I do like seeing Gunnar get in there to try and make that tackle. I'm not always the biggest fan of quarterbacks going to make tackles after a pick, but that's not here nor there. Still, the truth remains the same. Gunner Stockton is a really, really good football player. Now, is he an elite SEC caliber starter? Well, I'm not so sure about that. That's why he's a backup behind one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC going into next year. We've done a lot of film studies on him, and I think you know who that is. But last year Stockton was the third stringer, and Brock Vandagriff is now at Kentucky. So this is Gunner Stockton's chance to be the top guy, and if obviously Carson Beck gets hurt, he's going to be thrust into action. I think it's neck and neck between him and Arch and maybe a few others as the best quarterback in the SEC. Look at this. That is redunculous, man. So as you can tell from this film study, I like Gunner Stockton. My only issue is Ryan Puglisi, right? Can he beat him out as the top backup going into next season? It would not shock me at all. But Georgia fans, let me know down below. It is Power Hour SEC. Boom! And tonight, we're doing corn dogs, baby. Let's go.